If you want to be successful in trading, or not only trading, but anything you want to achieve in life, what I have learned over the years is that you really have to be willing to take the boring, systematic approach to working toward your goals. Now, we're going to look at exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to go over some of the common pitfalls that you really need to try and avoid. And I'm also going to give you one of the relatively simple things that I repeat in my head over and over and over again to make sure that I stay on track. Now, it is actually one of only perhaps 2 sunny days that we get a year in Scotland. So what I'm going to do is move the camera so I can try and take advantage of some of this sunshine. Okay, so boring. If nothing else, I want that word to be rattling around your head, bouncing between your ears when you finish watching this video. Because actually, I don't want it to be bouncing around your head because you thought the video was boring. Before some smart ass comments that down below. The reason I want you to be thinking about being boring is because no matter what it is you're trying to achieve, what goal you set yourself, in the long term, the only way to achieve it is if you take a boring approach to what you are doing. When you first set yourself goals, you come into it with this whole wave of discipline, enthusiasm, excitement. And that sort of drives you on for a couple of months. You know, think back to your January resolutions. When you set those, you have every intention of following through with them. You know, you sit down and you say to yourself, this year is going to be different. I'm going to lose that weight, or I'm going to keep going to the gym, or I'm going to learn how to trade. And then after a few months, well, first thing is, how many of your January resolutions for this year are you still keeping up with, or are you still working towards? I'd be very surprised if it's more than 10% of them, and I'd also say more than 10% of the people who are watching this video. If more than 10% of you have kept up with all your January resolutions, I will be incredibly surprised. Because what happens is, and it's inbuilt to all of us, our natural tendency is to work back toward rest. We don't like to use energy. We like to take the lazy approach. Now, the lazy approach starts to come in when we realize things aren't going to happen quickly. And any goal that you set yourself, it's going to take time to get there. If you are looking to learn to trade, it's not going to take weeks. It's not going to take a couple of months. It's going to take, I would say, an absolute minimum of 6 months before you even start to see a little bit of traction. But it's more likely going to take you a year to 2 years before you can start to say that, you know, you fully understand what you're doing. You're starting to see that consistency coming into your results. There's, depending on who you listen to, 85 to 95% failure rates when it comes to trading and retail traders. If you could learn this in a few months, that failure rate wouldn't be so high. It's that high because it takes so much time, and people come and they have that natural tendency to go back toward being lazy and taking the easy route. And then what happens is, after that few months, you know, when they're really excited, it starts to get hard and they start to make mistakes. They keep making the same mistakes. They're looking for the fast and the easy way to success. And all that happens is they blow up their account and they disappear from trading. So one of the ways to think about it is, if you think back to being in school, when you used to get your homework, or maybe you're still in school, when you used to get your homework, you know, you'd get home and the natural tendency would be to know you have the homework to do, but how many of you would then sit down and the thought going around your head would be, I'm going to sit here for as long as it takes until this homework is perfect. What actually happens for most of us is that you sit down with your homework and you think, okay, how can I get this done as quickly as possible so I can get back to sitting down watching TV? And it happens with everything we are, or that we're supposed to be doing. And when it comes to things that you actually want to learn, like trading, after that initial excitement wears off, life tries to creep back in around you. So maybe you'll be sitting and you'll know that you're supposed to spend an hour analyzing charts, or you're supposed to do some more back testing. but it'll be sunny outside. And you'll think, you know, I really want to go outside and just enjoy the sun, so I'm just going to sort of push this aside. Now, luckily, if you live in Scotland, first of all, we don't have that problem too often. But there's other things, you know, maybe your girlfriend or your boyfriend's sitting watching TV and you just can't really be bothered focusing on the charts for a couple of hours when they're sitting with a pizza. You want to go and sit beside them. Okay, so we just let that tractor go past. One of the joys of moving to the country is that we have lots of farm vehicles going past. So when we approach things in that way, and it's I wouldn't say it's a fault, it's inbuilt to all of us, but it doesn't work when you're looking to achieve a goal. When we start to work towards laziness, and it doesn't have to be laziness, it's just looking for the easier way to do things. And with trading, that tends to be things like when you're doing your back testing, you'll sort of do it a little bit half-assed. You know, you won't go into every single signal that you should be looking at. Maybe you'll only do 3 months instead of 6. Maybe you'll only do the signals that happens during certain hours when you know when you're trading live you're going to be looking at signals at different hours, or for 24-hour periods if you're trading Forex. What it can also mean is that when you sit down in front of the charts and you're supposed to be disciplined, you can start to get bored and you can start to take, or you can start to look for entries which mean you're going to be finished quickly. And maybe that works a couple of times, but in the long run all that happens is you end up losing lots of money and you become one of those statistics of people who fail. If you want to work towards anything, you have to be willing to be boring. Something I discovered as I was sort of growing up, and you know, I started to look at successful people and I started to look at what I was doing wrong, because I've tried to achieve lots of things in the past. Everybody has. And for the most part, with those things, there has been failure. And the failure has mostly came because of laziness and because I wasn't willing to be boring. So what is boring and what should you be doing in terms of learning to trade? Well, you have to be willing, first of all, to put in an incredible amount of work. So think about it back to what I'm talking about when your girlfriend or your boyfriend's sitting on the couch. You have to be willing to sit at the charts and study the charts instead. If your friend sends you a message saying they're going to go out for a beer, you have to be willing to say no, because you have other stuff to do. This is what separates you from the 85 to the 95% of people, because when they get that message, they invariably decide to go and meet their friends. Or they decide that they'll do the testing tomorrow and they just want to sit down and watch the show that their girlfriend or boyfriend is watching. And tomorrow never comes. It just kind of extends into the future. I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day, I'll just never do it. It's so common. And when you sit down to think about it, it's also ridiculous, because all you're doing is you are damaging your own ability to achieve what you want to achieve. Another thing that you should be doing is your trading diary and recording your trading results. This should be something that you do every day, and it should be incredibly detailed. Your trading diary shouldn't just be, or your trading results shouldn't just be writing in the trade that you took. It should have all these other avenues coming off of it. So, was it a trade that followed your rules? You should have a description of what you did. If it was emotional trading, you should also record how many points you took from the trade, but how many points were available from the trade. So if you'd stayed in the trade, or if you'd exited a little bit earlier, would you have made more points or would you have made less points? And then when you start to correlate all that data and you get sort of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months worth of it, you need to start putting it all together and figuring out where you're going wrong and how to improve. Because as a trader, we are literally fighting the markets every day. You're fighting other people to make money. So you need to be willing to put in as much or more work than other successful traders if you want to do this and be a consistently profitable trader who can do it in the long term. So you should be trading diary, very detailed, your trading results very detailed, but you should also be looking to constantly improve. I speak to a lot of traders, or a lot of people who are learning to trade, and they'll be suffering difficulties, and I'll ask things like, what risk reward are you currently getting from your trades? And they'll usually just look at me blankly and say, I'm not really sure. And I'll say, okay, well, what is the optimal risk reward from the trades that you've taken in the past? You know, what could you have been getting from the majority of those trades? Would your profitability have increased if you had been looking for 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 1 risk to reward? And they don't know, because they're not recording these things. What they're doing instead is they're thinking that they can just sit down at the charts, take trades. Maybe they're using a trading plan, which is great, but they're just taking trades and they're just thinking eventually they'll get it. Now that's what the 85 to the 95% of people are doing. You need to be learning and understanding what you're doing at those charts every day, every trade. No trading plan can teach you exactly how to read a market. You need to be willing to also put in the work. Your trading plan is the sort of foundations. It gives you that solid foundation. It teaches you how to build. And then you have to start doing it yourself. You have to start building. You have to start learning. You have to start understanding what the markets are doing. So the one thing I would suggest is working on your trading diary and recording your results, but recording your results with the intention of improving what you're doing and finding your weaknesses. You know, maybe there's a couple of different trades you take. Maybe one of those trades is killing you every month and you just don't realize it because you don't record your results, or you don't record them properly. Now, aside from that, there's also something that can help you. Well, it helped me greatly, and it's really simple. It helped me focus on what I want to do, or helps me focus. With trading, it's what really got me back to sitting at the desk, sitting at my computer, you know, filling in everything I need to fill in, doing the work. Whenever you find yourself with a choice, and you know what the choice, you know when you're sitting there, you know, do you want to go and watch TV with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or do you want to do your work? Instead of just sort of, you know, sighing and saying, you know, I'll do this later, ask yourself, would a successful person who has achieved what I want to achieve make this choice? Or you can even ask yourself, would the successful version of me make this choice? You should be asking yourself that all the time. I repeat it around my head all the time when I'm sitting at the computer, you know, because you sit at the computer, you've got the internet there, and you can maybe just jump onto YouTube and you can watch something, or you can load up Netflix, or you can put some music on. So I'm always asking myself is, would a successful me do this? Or would the successful me focus on the work that is sitting in front of me? And if you keep asking yourself that, you're going to start to see where you are diverging from the path that is going to take you toward your goals. So all you have to do is just keep asking yourself, and then when you know the answer, work toward the correct path. Now, there's this whole other side of things where we have this inbuilt desire to follow the habits that we have already constructed. And it's very difficult to make new habits. It's very difficult to sort of break out of that programming that makes us take that lazy route. What I'm going to do is, now that I've actually moved house, I'm going to start putting together a lot more videos on sort of psychology, motivation, and trading psychology especially. The videos that I used to put out a lot of, I just haven't been able to do as of late. And hopefully that will help you move towards your trading goals. It's going to be based around a lot of sort of my own experiences when I was learning to trade, and also not just learning to trade, when I've been doing other things. And I've came to understand, you know, what caused me to fail. And I've been able to correct that and move into the future and do things differently. And also by studying a lot of successful people. Okay guys, so for today, hopefully that word boring is now rattling around your head. As always, I hope that was helpful. I'm James Orr, and thank you.